Cool, thank you. We're up. Thank you, Matt. All right. Good evening, everyone. This is the special meeting of budget fiscal year 2025 Mayor and Council. Today is April 2nd, 2024, and we are starting this meeting at 6:05 p.m. All right, with that, this meeting is being held in person, and residents can view this meeting via Comcast Channel 71, Verizon Channel 36, or visit YouTube Live. For public comments during the meeting, please email at info@brentwoodmd.gov. That I will have Mr. Moran to call the roll.
Councilmember Lauren Rout.
Present.
Councilmember Marcus Monroe.
Present.
Councilmember Kiana Taylor.
Excuse absent.
Vice Mayor Stefan Legging.
On his way.
And then Mayor Rocio Terminio Lopez.
I'm here.
Town Administrator James Gaston.
Present.
Police Chief Ali.
Present.
Town Treasurer Shelley Dorsey.
Present.
Town Clerk Larry Moran, present. And lastly, Town Attorney Jason Deloach.
Excuse?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sorry. He can't.
Thank
But
you.
he will be online, and if anybody has
If it
any
needs.
questions,
All right, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Gaston. All right, with that, I will need a motion to approve the agenda for this work. Well, not motion, this is a workshop, so I'm gonna use, pass the mic to Mr. C. Washington.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, guests. So this is our FY '25 budget workshop. And so tonight, I'd like to start off by, before we move forward in the budget, I'd like to just kind of go back and revisit some of the questions that you all had in the last workshop, which I wasn't able to attend. But based off of the information that I received, I was able to come up with a response for those questions. There's a couple of things I'd just like to note in the revenue section, and that is first being the highway user tax. We did receive an estimated updated notice, and so that number was adjusted from what was initially proposed to $154,720. Speed camera.
Excuse me, so HUR tax is changed from 109 to 154?
154,720, that's based off of the current estimate that we received from State Highway.
Okay.
So, and quite honestly, the 109 was kind of a placeholder because I was waiting to receive that information.
Okay.
And it's kind of hard to estimate that number. So, just kind of have to wait for them.
I mentioned at the beginning, we have not received the tax differential yet. So, but I don't know if the wish of the council is to keep the current rate or we didn't discuss that piece, Shelley, 'cause we were.
The rate we adopted last year was the .3570, and it's my recommendation.
0.3.
3570. So it would be my recommendation that we keep that rate, and that this budget has been structured or built based off of that rate. So there's no, recommendation to make any increases there. So, yes, so for the record, there is no recommended increase in the town's tax rate.
No debate.
Secondly, the gross speed camera revenues. So the original estimate was based off of 30 citations, basically a day, which I think that number was really conservative. We've had an opportunity to gather a little more information, and based off of how it's currently performing, I adjusted that number, so it's, so the proposed revenue for the FY '25 budget is $511,000. That's based off of 35 citations a day, Again, that's still a conservative number, because we are definitely performing higher than that. And that's also an area that we would want to keep an eye on during the course of the year. If it's going to come in significantly higher, then we may want to think about a budget amendment.
And this is just before you move from the revenue, that might not be the place for discussion, but when it comes to police revenues, we need to seek for the CAPS grant, so it's not listed here, and also crime prevention grant, if any other place that we can find that, and also National Night Out. So we have a 0 there, because I guess we did not pursue any grants last year.
Correct. And for FY '25, I'm not expecting any new money from COPS grant, because I don't even think we've applied. And currently, we have the existing grant that we've been able to work out the issues that we were having with that. We're still waiting on whether or not they're going to approve the waiver. If they do approve the waiver, I anticipate we would receive those funds this year. So there's nothing in here for FY '25.
Okay.
Further down in revenues under the grants, community legacy, there's still $100,000 out there that we were awarded, that we anticipate receiving next year. I also, because I don't believe it was included previously, I just want to double check because I don't want to, yes. Also made an adjustment to include the award of the Chesapeake Bay Trust for $62,560, as well as the Safe Street Grant for $160,000. So,
Quick question, if I may.
absolutely.
Is it now, or do I wait until question time?
No, you can
I
rest
can
now.
ask. So you said that there might be for the community legacy, state of Maryland. Is this additional 100,000 in addition to the 370 that's proposed, or is it?
Well, I met with the town administrator, and so the additional monies, I do believe we've already
No,
billed for, or we expect to receive this year.
we respect, so believe it or not, due to the fact that the new town hall is being delayed, we were able to get into the most recent cycle, which was October, November. And so those funds will be distributed next year, sometime this year, the 100,000. So we've been receiving we received 3 payments of 250,000. This is the last of the legacy grant, and it's only 100,000 because the building is pretty much done, if that makes any sense.
So just for clarification, as of June 30, and you're projecting, or July 1.
Yes, ma'am.
What
$100,000.
will be still outstanding?
Correct.
Okay,
Well, that was
so- and that's what's reflected here,
correct.
100,000.
It'd be $100,000. Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, so that's it for the adjustments to the revenue. Moving into the expenses. So there was an asterisk by the count 51037 General Gov Town Administrator Grant Contract Monitoring. So we had not budgeted that. I know in previous years when town administrators had contracts.
Which number is that? Could you read the number when you're talking?
Oh,
Which
sure.
line? 'Cause I
It's
can't-
account number 51037. This is under General Gov. If you're following along on your hard copies, this is on the 3rd page back.
So
And
which
it's the
line
ver- it's
item
the-
are you looking at?
5-1037.
Oh, okay.
General Gov Town Administrator Grant. There was an asterisk there And we have not been budgeting any funds in that line item that was used in previous years when town administrator had a contract, and part of that agreement included, you know, being able to, you know, get a percentage of contracts that were awarded, that they applied for on their own. Contract human resource specialist, there was a question mark by that position. That was, we added that line to the budget. At one point, we kind of toyed with the idea of maybe having a human resource person, but it was nothing we ever moved forward with. At one point, we actually had earmarked, I think, like $30,000. And when we decided that we weren't using it, you know, that money that was earmarked there went away, but the line item's still there in case we revisit it at some point in the future. ICMA pension, so not just in general gov, but you'll see this pension line item throughout all the departments where there's staffing hours. This represents the town's contribution of 7.4% of base salaries. So, and it's base, so if staff get overtime and things of that nature, we don't pay anything additional. It's based off of whatever their base pay is. The next line item is the cell phones. So, cell phones is 5-1067. So,
Yeah, the question was how many phones, and that includes the chief, because I spoke with the chief and he
So-
said he's not receiving any.
so let me just tell you, I'm working with the clerk and the town administrator to get this cleaned up. Apparently what's been happening is when we issue new phones or replacement phones or whatever the case may be, T-Mobile has been issuing new numbers. And when these new numbers get issued, they aren't getting rid of the old numbers. So there's a lot of cleanup that needs to happen with this. And we're also requesting that they credit some of this money back. And the town manager, administrator can probably speak to this more, because I think it was agreed that they were gonna remove these lines and never did.
If I may?
And,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
let me finish. And so I anticipate we will probably save $450, $500 a month when this cleanup happens.
But still, my question remains, how many phones do we need under general government?
Under general gov,
Mm-hmm.
so under general gov, we have the clerk. The program coordinator, that phone was actually being charged there because we technically, under ARPA, we were only doing the fringe benefits and the salary, and the rest of that money was for programming. So the coordinator's phone was also hitting there. And so those are the two phones.
Only 2 phones,
Mm-hmm.
and we are budgeted $3,500.
Well, once we get all this cleaned up, we'll be able to bring everything back in line. So I think we'll be able to fix this and how it reflects in the budget before we wrap up this budget.
Okay.
So yeah, so you can mark on your paper if you want that we will, before we wrap up the budget, we will revisit the cell phones. There's a meeting that's supposed to take place with T-Mobile. I'm not sure if that's happened.
And that's what I wanted to update. I spoke with T-Mobile today. Apparently they, as she stated, there were a number of lines that were still out there that we were being charged for. They have since been removed from the active status, and we are getting credit back for 7 of the lines.
7 lines.
Right, so, wait, hold on, wait. The police department had a number of 5 lines that for some strange reason were never cut off. They have a laptop that goes in their car, that line, plus they had an additional line, and we haven't seemed to figure out what that line was for. But they are going to credit us back 7 lines all the way through August. And then moving forward, we only need And it's difficult. It's really difficult. As far as cell phones go, it should be no more than 12, if you will. So no, not 12. It's like 8. There's no more than 8.
Well, my question will be like, who needs a phone?
So the
Do you want to visit this tonight? Because it's going to cut into our budget time, or do you want to visit this later?
We're gonna revisit that, but we need to, cause I mean,
So,
you're claiming
what-
all the funds on the
what we-
general government.
What we can do, because the clerk does have a list, a log of all the cell phones and who they belong to. I have a sheet here, which is the T-Mobile bill, where I've marked up and I've highlighted all of the lines that I cannot account for. And so what we can do is we can send that information out so that you all have it.
Yeah,
So, can you, okay.
it's fair. Thank
And
you.
all of the cell phones is marked in terms of who they belong to. So you'll have that information.
Right.
Okay. There was a question mark for the gas bill. This is 3801 Upshur. Newsletter printing, so I believe we adjusted it up a little bit to 12,000. I'm not certain, just because of the way those bills have been flowing, if that's a good number. Were you okay with that number?
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
We did add 400 new apartments to that list, and we expect to add 200 more, so should be
Okay.
fair.
So, according to my notes, those were the only areas that you guys had questions, and like I said, the cell phone piece is,
Let him know
we
that.
still need to provide some more follow-up.
Can
on.
let Matt knows that.
Okay, so if there's no questions in regards to that, we will move forward with the budget, starting at expenses for elected officials. So I'm just gonna read, you stop me if you have questions. Mayor's salary, 9,000, elected
I'm
official.
sorry, I have a question. Is that where we left off last time?
I was told you made it through general gov. Did you not make it, you didn't make it through general gov?
Yeah, we do.
We did?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, sorry, thank you.
Yep, no worries. Town council salaries, 24,000. FICA tax related to the salaries is $2,525. Mayor and council expense, $750. Mayor meeting conferences, $7,300. This includes the American and Bloom registration. Council meeting conferences, $19,700. This includes registration for four. The American and Bloom. Election costs, $8,000. Cell phone, $2,000. Total elected official costs, $73,275. No questions, moving to code.
I'm sorry, questions? Wow. Do you have that written down somewhere as to what's included in the council meeting conferences? You said for something, something, something.
Well, it
something,
includes four, but it would also include attendance at other conferences. So MML would be in there. There's an allowance, if you go someplace else, National League of Cities or whatever the case may be.
But the
But
four,
the number was bumped
Do
up
we
because
Increase the,
we know, because of the
mayor's
attendance
salary?
for
You guys
American
okay with
to
that?
4 people?
Well, I did four. I don't know how many it's gonna be.
Okay, does it matter to decide that now, or no?
No.
Okay, all right
Um,
then, 'cause
We just know that that's what's
that's
included
not
with
gonna
the,
be 4.
yeah, that's what's
Okay.
included with the budget.
So
So
more,
that's an
right?
area
In the
that
council.
if we find at the
Like
end
what?
that we need to shave off something, we could go back and look at that. Or we leave it and we know that as we go into FY '25, if something else comes up,
It's a cushion.
it's a cushion there.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question. Is it mayor budget or are you doing the council?
I'm done with it. I'm doing code.
No.
No, no, no.
Shelley, only question is that, these, 9,000, that's the increase is the, for July?
Let me go up. Say that again.
And the mayor's salary says 9,000.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a 9,000?
For the annual? Yeah. I mean, it doesn't include an increase. Do we want to do an increase?
No, because that's not the, well, that's not what I've been getting, to be honest with you. I think that is 6,000. I was like looking at the number reverse.
Well, that's what, we approved 9,000 last year. And didn't we approve increases that, I don't think, do they have to go to memorandum?
No,
Or-
memorandum,
but did-
council,
but-
we
but
have to vote.
But we put the money in, right?
Yes, we did put the money, but I never got that amount. I just wanna make clear that that's been like there for the last year.
Right.
So, cause the
We
council has
put the
not-
money in, but it
But the-
hasn't become effective.
No, cause I guess the council never approved. We never approve it. I mean, it's there, but it's not like,
You want me to take it out?
I mean, if we're going to discuss, I mean, because it's been like, it was supposed to be in effect on July 1st last year, but the council never took a vote on to increase the council's salary.
Right, yeah, because there's an increase for not just you, but for the council
Yeah,
as well.
that's what I said.
Mhm.
I mean, is that, and that's the question for the council. Do you want to leave that number there and we're going to make a motion later on to approve this starting July? Because I mean, we can put any number in here, but without the council approval, it's not going anywhere.
What was the issue that prevented council approving in July of last year?
Maybe we
Forgot.
forgot.
Honestly, I think we
Is
forgot.
that retroactive? Get our money
Well,
back?
Yeah.
you can approve it in the budget, but I think you
Mhm.
also have to, do you have to do an ordinance or something for that? I thought it has to be
It's-
voted on.
It's not an ordinance, but it has to be a vote.
Yes, it has to be a vote. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
the only reason in the
Yeah.
past, people were talking about referendum, that
Right.
the residents should vote in favor, blah, 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 but then, I mean, and I guess some of the council argue, well, that's why we're here, they elected us, and then we can make that decision, but we never got to that point to actually make the increase.
Right, and just for the record, that would bump up yours to $750 a month, and for the council, it was to bump it up to $500 a month.
Could you tell me what the salaries are in total for current, not what's in the proposed budget, but currently what is the number for the mayor for?
6,000 for the mayor.
It's 6,000 for the mayor, and for the council, it is $19,200.
So that's
That's
divided by
actual.
4.
Mhm.
So what's that amount?
Okay.
400 something?
4,800.
48.
Okay, so FICA tax, $2,525.
Just to make sure I understand too, because it is listed in chapter 60 of the code or charter. Actually, let me take that back, I'm sorry. So the last ordinance that was updated was 2014. And I'm more so just saying for context to make sure I understand.
Mhm.
So it's been essentially since 2015 that any adjustments have been made. Is that accurate to
Mhm.
salaries, which is well overdue?
Right.
Which I'm sure that's why we all agreed that something needed to change last year,
But we forgot to vote.
but we didn't do it. Right.
Right.
So it sounds like, just to make sure I understand, at the next council meeting, can you present the numbers to everybody so they're all on the same page? Like, here's the current salaries,
And then they have to
In the
be a
chapter.
motion.
and then we'd have to do the motion so that everybody understands the process.
Gotcha. Okay, yep, we can do that.
So I know there will be many questions, but I won't be here in the next meeting, but
Oh,
how
right.
that going to work? So starting when? You want to start July 1st, because that's something that you have to think about it, or you
Right.
want to be retroactive because we have not, it's been in the budget, but again.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's
So
for
we'll-
discussion for the next meeting.
And so if it's been in the budget and you want to do it retroactively, the money is somewhere already existing that it could be pulled retroactively.
Yeah, it is in the budget since
Well, it's in
last
the-
year.
It's not, because we don't encumber it, so at the end of the year, that money just,
Oh, that
Disappears.
last year's money went away.
Yes.
Right.
yes.
So
So
the-
so it wouldn't be any retro.
Yeah.
For even for 24,
Mm-mm.
if the number had changed?
Well,
for
we're still in 24, so I guess you technically could,
Find it from July, right?
you probably could, but I think it's more of a question for Jason.
Mhm.
Right.
I'm a-
For
I'm-
me, at least the spirit of it was there clearly, like we discussed it and we wanted that to happen. It didn't happen. So I would say, since we're a few months away from the new fiscal year, just set it where starting July, that's when the new raise would kick in.
Kick it.
And so, and I think part of the issue in the past, because I've seen this happen in other towns too, is that people do get a little weird with like in the middle of your term, raising your salary. So a lot of times, which is what we did, and it was like we did in 2014, it was set where after the election and you're sworn in, then the new raise kicks
Then
in.
you raise kids in.
But for us, we're trying to,
I
unfortunately,
mean,
catch
we
up on
did it
something we
last
didn't
year,
do.
but we didn't.
We-
So that's a good question for Jason then.
Right.
And also, I just,
Excuse me.
you know, and again, I've never worked with the town budget, so I might have some ignorant questions, but when I work with my own budget and I see, oh, there's $3,000 each month floating around that's still there and hasn't gone to anybody, or whatever the difference is between 24,000 and 19,200, where is all that money then? Because it's been in the budget saying, oh, we're indicating that we're supposed to be paying somebody this, so where is that money then?
Right, well, one, you have to keep in mind that the budget it's projections, it's estimates. And this is how we think we're going, it's a guide for us during the course of the year. Doesn't mean we're gonna spend all the money in each of these line items. In some cases, we go over. And when we go over, we do line item transfers. Well, we don't do them by line, we do them by category now, to cover costs. So where we have savings, we use that to cover costs where we may have gone over.
So maybe like within the elected officials bucket, that whole amount of money in there, maybe we were moving stuff around within that bucket, so it wasn't readily obvious that we hadn't voted on it, and so therefore there was this extra money sitting in that category.
Right.
And so we were able to shift some of that category to maybe conferences or expenses or cell phones or election costs.
Right,
Okay,
right. And in some cases, we might actually move it out of there.
out of there,
Mhm.
okay,
We
okay.
may move it out of there and, but if we're moving it out of there, then obviously it would end up on a line item transfer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, but if it was just between like the mayor and council expense and mayor
So,
meeting and conference
Since we did
expense,
this
where one was
last
over,
year,
one was under,
So
I
it
would leave it alone.
doesn't,
We
I
wouldn't
understand what
necessarily
you're
have
saying,
to, as
like,
long
the
as
new
our
council
bottom line
coming
was
next
good,
year,
we still could.
but because we did it last year, so that would be the new council, it's just that we didn't,
We didn't do it
for the, so. We flip on that.
Okay.
It's
So-
bad for us, cause it wasn't, instead of working to our benefit,
Okay.
like we're making a lot of money, we don't want it extra.
So, mayor and council expense, $750. Mayor meeting and conferences, $7,300. Council meeting and conferences, $19,700. Election costs, I think I'm repeating myself, but that's okay. Election costs, $8,000, because we do have an election next year. Cell phone, $2,000. Total election cost is $73,275. Moving into code. Full-time salary for the manager, $61,153. Overtime, $5,000. Code enforcement officer, $50,000. Employee incentives, $400. FICA taxes or payroll taxes, $8,886. Health insurance, $22,000. Pension costs, $8,225. Total presented for code salaries and benefits is $155,664. Code fuel expense, $500. Computer equipment software for code, $5,000. Code parking citations, $250. Code supplies, $200, I'm sorry. Postage, $300. Uniforms and clothing, $600. Dues and subscriptions, $500. Vehicle repairs and maintenance, $3,000. MML conference, $2,500. Employee training, $2,500. Total for code is $171,014. Moving into the police department. Do you want to do the police department, or you want me to skip
The what?
and come back? The police department.
We can go back, we can, come back.
Because that's one of the, and the reason I say that is because it's one of the longer departments.
Yeah.
We can probably get through some of the other ones, and then,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
No,
Okay, so do you want to,
just
you want me to
keep-
go through
just
it, or you
keep
want to
the,
skip it?
Nothing against you, it's just that it will take a longer, we only have 20 more
Yeah,
minutes.
so history has shown it may take a little longer. Okay, so we're skipping the police department, we'll revisit that one. Jumping to the volunteer fire department, where I did include the $2,500 allowance in here for them. Maintenance department, foreman salary, $58,159. Laborer one position, $49,424. Laborer two salary, $41,340. Laborer three position, $42,500. Overtime, $2,000. Employee incentives, $800. Payroll taxes, $14,797. Health insurance, $45,000. Pension costs,
I got-
$14,165.
I'm gonna stop you there, only because I need to go back. What it says the foreman salary, that, after, meeting with, town administrator and, we want, and the vice mayor previously, is like, we want to create this part-time position for, the former, maintenance. It's gonna be a part-time base and it's gonna be a full-time, so meaning that we're gonna have 4, maintenance crew members and a part-time supervisor.
So you want to create a part-time foreman position?
Yes.
And one full-time.
Yes, so.
So is that a long-term or short-term goal?
No, it's gonna be a long-term.
Okay.
Because we figured that we need more, crew members than actual,
Got it.
a field supervisor.
Okay. So I'm making a note of that, and I will make the adjustment and present that, when we come back for our next work session.
And so the part-time, we have to consider, Mr. Gat, 20 hours, so
What,
For the part-time,
Yeah,
mhm.
20 hours.
20 hours.
20 hours.
So,
20
now,
hours per week.
I will say, from HR standpoint, part-time is less than 30. At 30 hours or more a week, we have to pay for benefits.
And so, with that being said, I would say 30 and under, and then that way we don't
30
have to
and
worry about the
under.
benefits.
All right.
So 30 and under. So we'll cap him at 29, cap he or she at 29. Okay. What?
They,
He or she, they.
or they.
Or they.
Okay, so the total for, well, I won't bother reading the total because we're gonna revise that, so.
Yes, please.
Okay. So maintenance, uniform and mats, $10,000. Employee training for maintenance is $500. Utility oil heating, $3,000. Vehicle gas is $12,000. Vehicle tires, $1,500. Vehicle oil and truck repairs, $5,000. Maintenance supplies, $2,500. Pest control, $600. Maintenance tree service, $10,000. So I know this was a number we bumped up because we had some specific projects, but I
Mhm.
left it at the 10,000 because we seem to, this tree maintenance seems to be kind of ongoing, so I think we should leave it.
Yeah.
It actually should be more.
Security system, $3,000. Mosquito rodent, education pest control, $530. Miscellaneous tools and equipment, $3,000. Building repair, $2,500. Leaf machine repair, $500. Bobcat repairs, $1,200. Fence maintenance, $3,000. Other large equipment repairs is $1,500. So the total for the general maintenance area, for the Public Works Department is $60,330. So we didn't make any changes there. Moving into highway lighting. Highway lighting is $66,000. Snow removal, $2,500. Street and sidewalk maintenance, $151,720.
150?
$151,720. That number did change, because on the revenue side, the highway user revenue changed.
Mhm.
You're welcome. Sign purchase and replacement, $3,000. Total presented for public ways and lighting expenditures is $223,220. Sanitation, contract trash removal, $180,000. $3,000. Contract roll-off, $12,000. Resident trash cans, $750. Landfill fees, $500. Recycle curbside pickup, $45,000. Recycle tipping and other, $12,000. Total for sanitation is $253,250. Bartlett Park. Landscaping and maintenance, $3,000. Restroom supplies and maintenance, $500. Sprinkler supplies, $200. Sprinkler maintenance, $150. Total expenditures for Bartlett Park is $3,850. Veterans Park, maintenance supplies, $250. Repairs and maintenance is $750. Landscape expense is $300. And miscellaneous expense for Veterans Park is $500. Total expenditures for Veterans Park is $1,800. Pocket Park, maintenance supplies, $250. Repairs and maintenance, $250. Landscape expense, $750. Total expenditures is $1,250. Recreation, town activities, $8,500. That number was bumped up from what was previously presented. I think we can all agree we need some additional money here, not just because the town is doing more, but just because costs are going up overall.
So is that 6,000 in the town activities?
8,500.
85.
Brentwood Day, 8,000. Veterans Day, 1,500. Black History, 2,500. Hispanic Heritage, 2,500. International Day, 2,500. Performing Arts is 2,000. So that was adjusted down. I believe the 10,000 was grant money that we received when we did those Summer in the Park, or that series, music series. Okay. So I adjusted that down to $2,000 because we still may want to do something.
And that's what I was
Similar.
asking. So the question I had was, how much did we spend last year on it? Was it per
10,000.
musician?
10,000.
It was 10,000 total for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we did how many?
3.
Three?
Yes, it was 3.
Okay. I was trying to think where we can go and maybe get some grants and figure out how to fill the gaps on the money to get
Thinking about
So
sponsoring
the
parties.
sponsors too. Yeah. If we know 10,000 is a good number, then that means we just got to figure out get sponsors for 8. You know, so
Right.
it's not a big number.
And I think there's grant money out there too.
There
that will help
is.
with artists and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we want to leave the 2,000, or you want? I can highlight it, and if we have extra money when we get through this, maybe you might want to add some more there.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just put a note that we'll revisit. This will be one of the line items we revisit later. So the total in recreation expenditures was for everything is $34,400.
I have an idea about it.
Cable TV, salaries $14,000, employee incentive $300, payroll taxes $1,071, equipment and supplies $1,250, maintenance and repairs $200, INET fees $3,088, training $200, capital outlay $2,500, total expenditures is $22,609.
I'm sorry, what was that total?
The contingency $22,609.
Thank you.
This does not include, obviously, anything related to the town center. That's all capital costs, and it's captured in a different way.
Can we go back up, just to double check? So on the senior tax credit, that's related to a projection on how many people actually have taken advantage of it, or how much we can actually, in theory, even
Well,
supply?
it's how many people that take advantage of it.
5-1248, sorry.
Right, and so, and where the confusion comes in, because quite honestly, a lot of times there isn't a whole lot that the town may actually have to pay back. Sometimes our residents get confused when they look at their tax bill, because portion of it is the town, but the majority of it is the county, and it's only the municipal portion
So
of it.
basically, you are only reimbursed based on this number right here.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. So the total under cable was $22,609. And let's see, moving right along here. Contingency, I won't talk about that because we'll revisit. You know, but I will speak on it, because we do have a new council person who's learning. The contingency line item is once we've kind of balanced our budget and met our needs. If we have anything left over, we'll put it in the contingency line item. We put it in here so that we have access to it and we could use it in the, later in the year for other project services. Mhm. So I can tell you now that number is going to change. Other restricted expense, public safety services, $284,246. Senior tax credit, $1,000. Town events, back to school, $1,000. Town center, public safety, $130,754. Brentwood Business Association, $500. Other restricted expense total was $417,500. Cable TV encumbrance is
Sorry, question. I had Wyndham Road Historical Project as having an encumbrance of 2725. Do we know where that went? Or if there are any available funds, or should we be planning for historical project funds in FY '25?
If we think we're gonna need additional money, but I was under the impression that we were going to spend that by June 30. So it wouldn't, so nothing would roll over for
Yeah.
25.
And just to be clear, that line item is not for the Juneteenth event. That Juneteenth event will come from town activities, but because it's like this is next year, not this June.
Yeah. And so that's for the actual project, not for Juneteenth. And the
Correct.
2725 will be spent in FY '24, so I can let the project team know that those encumbered, because it was listed as encumbered,
Yes,
can be
now,
spent now for the project. And then in FY '25, we're not setting any funds aside for any kind of maintenance of the sculpture or the permeable pavement.
No, this is,
Okay.
there's a 7,275 here that is encumbered. But I think that is
Okay.
gonna be, Shelley, we're gonna spend these funds, but the problem is like, we don't know if it's gonna be in this fiscal year or after July
Mhm.
1st.
Okay, so that could be, excuse me, could become encumbered, okay, for
Yes.
25. Okay,
Mhm.
okay, thank you.
you're welcome. So the mayor just mentioned the next one, Wyndham Road encumbrance of $70,275.
Mhm.
Racial equity encumbrance, $18,000. ARPA disbursements, and I'll revisit this a little later.
One question on ratio. So that should be, has that taken into consideration the money that was used for the translation services? Or any of, yeah, I think that's the only thing that would have come out of,
Was that supposed to come out of this?
yes.
Okay.
So that was that invoice for those services should have came out against this
So it
one.
has not, so I need to, okay, so,
And then we may have, we can project based on how we use those funds within the next month or two. For example, if we use the translation services or any kind of training of the next 2 months, so I'll try to get more updated information to you.
okay. So I'll also just add to this revisit. So before we final out the budget, we'll just take another look at it.
Well, I'm gonna make sure also I'm not drawing too far outside the lines of the intent of the line item. So times when I need, if there's a racial equity related committee or training, and we get, say, translation services for that event,
Mm-hmm.
I think that seems to be in the spirit of the line item. But what if we start using
you
translation
have it-
services in general?
You have the
Right.
line item for racial equity training.
Right.
But these are the
But-
encumbered funds.
So the
So-
current one.
Mhm.
So,
Right, and so initially, I thought there was something, was it with National Legal Cities or some program that
Right.
we were
So we
thinking
ended up
about?
being a part of that. So that kind of negated the need to use the whole 18K because that contract we were drawing up with them ended up going
Okay.
away because they were like, oh, we're going to have you be a part of the cohort for free, essentially.
Right.
And we'll
So
give
maybe we should repurpose the funds. We don't have to do it tonight, but, you know.
maybe give it a different,
Yes,
and that's why I'm asking because I was like, now it's sort of merging a bit with the Brentwood Equity and Access Committee that's come out of that National League of Cities training, but I'm trying to be mindful that I don't want, it's going to start to feel like it's getting away from the original line item after a while. If now the
Okay.
committee starts using those original
gotcha.
funds. So I don't, all of a sudden now a committee has a line item and that may be counter to anything we do normally because I don't think any other committees have like access to
Funding.
a standing line item in that way. So I want to make sure I'm not being
Right.
inequitable with my
So,
equity committee.
okay. Well, you know, let me know,
Okay.
you know, what you want to do, if we need to move some of that out, or if it's okay to stay there now, but, you know, you monitor it and,
Maybe we leave for now. We can keep talking about it over the next couple of work sessions of how to transition those funds.
okay. ARPA disbursements, so in total for the ARPA, we had 400,000. Again, this is an estimate, in terms of what we think we may have remaining come June 30, and then roll over to FY '25. 50,000 of that is earmarked for the program coordinator. 10,000 was earmarked for the programs, and then, of course, we have our other programs that you have already approved. Town center restoration encumbrance, so we still have $83,100 there. Highway user grant encumbrance, $127,580. Total encumbrances, $754,496. Grant expenses, so we already talked about this community legacy of $100,000. We have $2,500 for the Anacostia Trails Heritage. Chesapeake Bay Trust, $62,560. Safe Streets Grant, $160,000. So, and just so you know, with grants, they usually offset each other, so you will see, so like, for instance, the Safe Streets, there was $160,000 on the revenue side, and then you see $160,000 on the expense side. Right. Mhm. So total grants was $262,500. Mayor and council project initiatives, redesign of Pocket Park, $4,000. Committee projects, there's $5,240 there. Brentwood Plant Network, $6,200. $2,500 of that is an annual cost. That being said, we have actually gone through the budget, with the exception of the police department. And if you would like for me to start, we have 10 minutes remaining of this workshop. So you want me to start?
So I had one outstanding question from last time too, and it was a question to me that I had a question for you. Basically, it was like I requested translation services to potentially go higher. What I didn't know was how much float we would have in the budget, and also the way we want to go about structuring, increasing it. You know, is it based on the number of translation sessions we think we can do per month? Because we don't currently have a structure in place. So I didn't want to just pick a number out of the air without having more dialogue on it. But
Right, so, well, you have to, you do have to project something.
Yeah,
Um,
let's say you're gonna do
And what do
quarterly,
you think that
it's
looks
gonna be
like?
4
Maybe
times a
quarterly.
year.
If you think it's gonna be 4 times a year, if it's gonna be once a month,
so
and then, and based off of like the average cost, we can come up with a number.
yeah, so we spent 600, for example, for two translators for a virtual session. It was 600 total. So that to me, that's like one example, and I've gotten some quotes even lower, but I think we can assume anywhere from like 400 to 600 is a current range, and I can validate that.
So 400 to 600 for
A two-hour event, virtual or in person.
Okay, and so how many times a year do you think that will happen? So
Well,
we can say
other committees
$500
do.
for each.
Right. So how often
So,
do you meet?
I mean, I think I don't know if this is the time to discuss this at length or not, because we only have 6 minutes left, but I think we're making a commitment by you guys going to NLC Real, that we are open for and pursuing equity and inclusion, but we also aren't gonna go push the pedal to the metal and go, every single council meeting we have will be translated, right? So somewhere in between, and maybe it's 400 to 600 a month. Maybe it's once a month, one meeting a month, and it rotates through committees or something, who gets to have a translation that month or something. I'm not sure how we want to decide that, but if there is once a month money for between $400 and $600, I think it would be wise to consider what can we swap out to make it possible.
Right.
That's why I
Yeah.
feel like a quarterly, because I mean, let's be honest, with the time that we have, it's hard to say that we're gonna have a meeting every month. So that's why I feel like having a quarterly meeting, even if you have to split like we're gonna do this Saturday, it works fine. So, but don't put so many meetings in there that we're not gonna be able to do. But at least this is a start. Like, we already started somewhere. So starting next fiscal year, you say, well, spring, we're gonna be in the fall. So, accounting like that, because I mean, the worst thing you can have is like, because people coming every month is like less people come, and then you're still gonna have to pay the services, whether you have one person or you have 10.
Are you thinking of one a quarter for the equity committee or for all committees?
Anybody.
So any committee should, so are you suggesting that committees should reduce their meetings to not do it monthly?
Yeah, because I don't,
Because
and being
Our
in
committees
there,
have been doing quite a bit of
you're,
activity.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
only committee that has actually worked over the years, and that's like the green team
Yeah.
and the tree. They're like, it's because it's a combined committee,
Yeah.
so that works perfectly. So, but the rest of the committees, please, we're asking people to join every time.
But
Because
so,
the only committee we have is like the town clerk, the mayor.
so if we have, for instance, in April, we have the Equity and Accessibility Committee meets, and then in May, my committee meets, and then in June, somebody else's committee might be meeting, like Safe Streets for All might be starting up soon. It could be monthly and not quarterly, with all of the different committee activities, translating them. So it could be between just quarterly and one committee that quarter. You have to pick and choose if it's equity and accessibility, or it's public safety, or it's,
Just think about
You know?
this. If you're gonna have, for instance, how many of the people that comes to your committee need translation services?
maybe they're not coming because there aren't translation services.
So,
I mean,
and
But
then
maybe
that's
they don't come
that's
'cause I'm
other
not
other
offering
way
them.
of
Yeah.
thinking. Are you wanna be, that in that meeting that you has to wait for translation? It can be boring for the person that is like English speaker. Like, you have to wait for all this. It takes double time. So, or you would rather to do. Because that was, for me, that's the whole purpose. Like, you want to be inclusive, but I going to have this group that is going to be by completely in Spanish, if that's the case. Why are going to be needing, like, translation services if I'm dedicating this to that group of people because they need to get informed, they need to get, because trust me, it's hard to be like in the two, like listening to the English and then to the Spanish, and you miss a lot of time and information trying to do that once you do like a group settings. I mean, we are in charge of providing the same information to all, rather to be like, in the same setting or in separate groups.
So maybe so there's a couple things we can do, since our two committees and we can treat it like a pilot project this year, is come up with a quantity of meetings we think we'll potentially need to use it, and then come up with a range. And then I can reach back out. So the state of Maryland has a contract through Ad Astra, that's who the county and the state uses, or at least one of the contracts they have. And I know we can do a rider off of that contract if we would want to. And I can ask him to give us a quote on what that would cost. And then we can figure out whether or not we're going to use a combination of like a local translators that we have here in our town and the neighboring area, or we want to go through a contract approach and then see how that plays out to give us a number to quote off of. And then we can come back at the next meeting, Madam Treasurer, with the sort of proposed
Some
number.
numbers.
Yeah. Whether that be like 7,000, 10,000, I'm not sure, but we can come back with that if that works.
yeah, thank you.
Yep.
So, now, just FYI, right now, I'm showing that if we were to wrap this budget up today, we would be putting about $97,000 into contingency. I know I can probably shave a little bit off of that with the adjustment that we're gonna make in Public Works. However, a lot of what's gonna go into that full-time position is a lot of that's gonna come from the foreman position that we're gonna reduce to part-time, so.
Mhm.
I'm saying all that to say that you actually do have some money
Some
sitting there if you
sitting
just
there.
wanted to earmark, say, $6,000. That's $500 a month or however you want to spend it, but if it was $500 a month, that means you could provide translation services at least once a month. And, so, you know, you could just do it that way, just come up with an allowance and put it in there, and we spend it wisely.
So for now, can we just place that in there, 6,000? We'll use a $500 a month logic, and then we'll come back with the structure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you want an additional, because I think there's already $1,000 in here.
I'm sorry, additional 5,000 to make it 6,000 even. You're right. I believe
Okay.
there's a $1,000 standing line item.
And Shelley, if you also would like to propose to go back to 10 activities and increase that 85 to 10,000, only because, you know, we are doing different events. And we hit that account a lot of time
Yes.
for different things, like senior, kids.
So no, I will make that adjustment. I actually think that's a good adjustment because we've been doing more events and we've been getting a great turnout. The
Mhm.
residents seem to love it. The community
Yeah.
loves it. So, you know, that's what they want, obviously.
Mhm.
Okay, so that adjustment has been made. Well, those two adjustments. I've made the adjustment to town activities. I made the adjustment to
3,000. Shelley, one more
the
before we leave.
translation services. You got another adjustment?
Just that we're talking about the summer performing arts series, just bring it to 5,000 total, and then we'll come back and talk about,
Okay.
That as well.
Performing arts.
so I know Mayor and I can talk about some ways to get sponsors.
Yep.
But at least getting that number higher bakes in a good number we can use.
Gotcha. Why can't I find that line item? There we
We're
go. So
good.
you said you want to adjust it to 5,000?
Yes.
Okay. And you're still looking good, so, yeah.
We'll see you in that police department.
I think we're gonna still be looking good. The chief did submit
We're gonna
You
hire
know.
the chief of police, so he can.
his budget
Asking
adjustments. I think he made some very smart moves. So I think we're gonna be good. All right, well, I think that wraps us up for
Yeah,
our
and
second
the-
workshop for the FY '25 budget.
Yes, and the next, we're gonna take a 5 minute recess before we continue for the presentation. But we need to think about dates for the next work session. And also we need to have dates for the hearing. Well, it's not required if that's the only thing. Is it required if we're not changing the tax rate?
So,
I don't remember.
what's that? No,
The hearing.
you still have to have it.
Okay, we have to schedule the next meeting, the hearing, and the first reading of the ordinance.
Right.
And just, I said that, take a note for that, Larry, because I will not be here next meeting. So, yeah. Wow.
So we don't have another budget meeting on the calendar?
No. We were supposed to,
I thought we had 3.
I think we can do a squeeze the 16, in there, but just for the police department piece, but we're not gonna be present unless we want to do
Right.
a Zoom meeting somehow. next week.
I apologize.
Next week. I think we
If I
said the
hadn't made
9th.
The first meeting, we probably would have.
Didn't we say
Oh,
the
yeah,
9th,
too.
Mr. Gaston? Didn't we
That sounds
schedule?
right, yep.
Yeah, no, we schedule next Tuesday, so
That sounds
don't,
like nice.
yeah, it's next week, I'm sorry. It's the work, the budget. That was our third, because it was the date, it was our third workshop.
Or the 16th, our next meeting. We
No,
have a
the
special-
regular council meeting is on the 16th, but the budget meeting is on the 9th.
So we have a special budget meeting on the 9th at what time?
Yes, it's either 6 or 7,
It's not in the calendar.
Did you want to do it via Zoom or did you want to do it in person?
because that's the police department, so.
Did you want to do it in person or you want to do it in?
Next week?
Did you hear me?
Yes, it's next week.
Did you want to do it via Zoom or did you want to do it in person?
It is on my calendar. I don't know.
I can do that one, it's just the 16th, is the one I.
I mean, we can, it's the police department, so it's just dedicated to that. So maybe from 6 to 7:30?
Right.
That
In
works?
person or in Zoom? In person.
Person, yeah.
But you were saying you were open to the 16th being.
Yeah, but then you're not gonna be in and I'm not gonna be in, so it's just the three of, members of the
Right.
council decided.
Well, all we're doing is the police department. Maybe we should
But
do
that's
Zoom.
next week. The week after, the 16th is beyond the police department, right?
Yes,
Yes, so I'm.
And that's when people are gone, not
Yes.
next week. People are all here next week. The week
Yes.
after is
Right.
Mm,
the hearing,
mhm,
right?
right,
mhm.
right.
So that should
The
be on
16,
Zoom.
the
So that needs
16.
to be on Zoom for you
I
guys
mean-
to participate if you're able.
I can participate, I'm just gonna get Chicago for work, so
I'll be in Spain, so I don't know the timing.
Yeah.
Will we at least get one other person if we did it via Zoom?
I mean, for the,
Um,
police department's piece, if
Police
everybody
department is
okay.
next week. Everybody's here.
Oh, okay,
The
yes.
week after.
Well,
But
week
that's the
after.
hearing. You don't have,
Yeah.
we don't have to be, I mean, we have to at least 3, but that can be the hearing before the regular meeting.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking you might want to do the next one as a Zoom because it's probably not gonna be that long.
Chief, you Zoom, does it work for you?
That was my
Okay.
thought. I don't think that meeting's gonna be,
Long,
I
okay.
don't think it's gonna be long.
So 6 PM on Zoom for
Is that definite?
9? Yeah.
The 9th. So just. So we're clear. April
Yes.
9th, 6
Just-
o'clock.
Just police department.
Police Department budget review via Zoom.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then on the 16th, we start at 6 PM for
For
the
the
budget
hearing.
hearing. 6 to 7 is the budget hearing. And it'll just be hopefully Vice Mayor, Councilmember Taylor and myself. And hopefully those two know what they're doing in this kind of a meeting since I'm new. You're gonna leave us.
Wow, I agree.
So, well,
Did she
we'll
just say that?
We'll present our ordinance, which I'll do
I
that.
did
and
say
send to you
that.
So you can at least
That's-
review that.
Yes.
Mr. Gaston.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
Key
before
personnel will be
9,
missing, but there will also be key personnel here, yes.
No comment. 6 o'clock on the 16th, is that correct?
Alright, so can we,
No, the
just,
16th.
pause for 5 minutes and then we go back?
I have a quick question. On the 16th, it's at 6
For the hearing,
For
for
the
the
hearing.
hearing. Okay.
yes.
And then the meeting starts at 7.
7, yes.
Thank you. All right.
Yep.